Well, hello Divi Nation and welcome to another Divi use case live stream. And today we're going to be showing you how to add some custom HTML video control buttons to your Divi videos. And don't forget to check the video description for a link to the blog post that goes along with this use case. And really excited to jump in. We do these live streams every week. Tuesday, 3 p.m. Eastern. Glad for you to join us today. And basically, we're going to show you a cool way to add HTML video control buttons to your Divi videos. So let's jump in and get started. All right, so just as I see some people have joined us, welcome. I hope my stream is coming in for you guys, and I hope that you can hear me. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me, and also don't forget to say hello in the chat. Let us know where you're from, and ask all the questions you want to ask. Hopefully I can answer them, and if I can't, someone else may be able to. Hello, Matt. Welcome. Faustino, welcome to the live stream. All right. Got a thumbs up. Awesome. I think we're good. All right. I got from Ellie, hello. You got perfect sound and video. Never heard that before. Never got perfect sound and video. So I guess we're in good shape. All right. So if you're just joining us, welcome to this week's Divi use case live stream. Each week we show you how to add some new design and functionality to your Divi websites. This one, kind of unique, kind of technical, but also really cool. We are going to be, adding some custom external controls for our videos. And so if you are new to Divi or you don't know code or whatever it is, hopefully we can walk you through, or as we go, I'll show you some new things you can try, introduce you to the concept of adding some more advanced customizations to your videos in Divi. What you're seeing here is a kind of preview of what we're going to be building today. This is an HTML video. And this is the same, video that gets, Divi modules. I'm sorry, Divi video module uses the HTML video structure to add videos to your website. Same thing, this is kind of the way you add HTML videos throughout any website, really. So we're just going to be harnessing what's already there to add some unique controls here. And as you can see down here, when I hover over the video, this will show you the default controls that are standard with the HTML videos that you add to your website. And you can see there's like a play button here. There's this progress bar here. There's this current time and duration of the video. There's the volume mute button here, a full screen view. There's even a little menu here that you open up to download and put picture in picture if you want. But today what we're going to be showing you is how you can, tap into those controls and actually control them using like Divi buttons, for example. Here are some Divi buttons that I made, and they will control the video. This is the play and pause button, which will play and pause the button on click. Can't talk. Play and pause the video on click. The stop button here will end everything and bring it back to the beginning. There's also a mute button. So if I click that, you'll just have to trust me that it is muted, because you can't hear it. And also there's these cool little volume buttons, just to demonstrate how you can control volume with a button. If I click up, this will increase the volume. Click down will decrease the volume. Even have a large view button. So if I click on that, it expands the container of the video for a larger view. So this is only, an introduction to the stuff that you can actually do and all the options. There are a ton of options available with using the HTML video element. But this will hopefully serve as a kind of an introduction to how to do this, and hopefully you can use it to, add some new designs to your video buttons, stuff like that, if you want a more custom build for your website. Just a heads up, this is a kind of limited to one video. So like, we're just going to concentrate on adding this functionality to one video on your website, or one HTML video. So, but it is cool nonetheless. Oh, I didn't show you, this is the progress bar, this custom progress bar that we'll also create as well. You can see it with the blue color going across. And so we'll use a combination of, the Divi Builder to build out these things, these elements, and design them. And then also we'll be adding some custom code that will get all the functionality we need, tap into the built-in functionality that controls the video element and all that jazz. So let's jump in and get started, making sure. If we have any more questions before we dive in. Hello. Matt has a question. What's the best, most affordable way to stream live to your own Divi website? Oh, okay. So how to stream live video on your site? That's a good question. Actually, I don't know the answer to that, unfortunately. I don't know if you searched on our blog. I'm sure we have something about that on there. I'm sure if not, we need to, but I'm sure there's some ways to do that. But good question. Welcome, Dominic. Frazil Records. Hello. Jern from Germany. Jern from Germany has a nice ring to it. Status point. Oh, you want a car rental template in Divi. All right. Car rental. I know we got something that's similar that may work for you. You go to our layouts there. Available layouts. I don't know if it's a car rental. I don't remember what it was, but hopefully someone who knows can link to it. I'm going to jump in and concentrate on what we got a lot of ground to cover, so I'm going to get started. Real quick, if you're just joining us, what we're doing here is I'm showing you how we can create some custom HTML video controls in Divi. And we're going to be using a Divi video module to do so. All right, so let's dive in. I got a blank slate, blank page, ready to go using the Divi Builder on the front end. First step is to style our section. Because before I do that, I just want to make sure and let you know that there is a blog post that went out today that goes along with this live stream that will be helpful to follow along or to catch anything that I may have missed in the video. One thing that it does is just give a brief overview of the goal and what is the goal for this tutorial. It shows you this little snippet like this right here. This is the basic syntax for a HTML video, and this is what it looks like. As you can see, there's a video. This is the video element, the HTML video element, and inside it you put, the video using the source element there. You add the two videos, and you put the MP4 video up on top, and then the WebM. Actually, I think it might be switched around, or should be switched around. I don't remember, but you want to add both MP4 and WebM files for the best functionality on mobile, and because the WebM file, if it can be loaded, is much faster, streams faster, I think, stuff like that. But this is the basic structure. And the Divi module, video module, actually, on the back end, whenever it is added to your page, is structured like this. So you'll have, if you inspect it or whatever, it'll look like this. So what we're basically doing is although we will be using a Divi video module, you can use this to control your own, HTML videos you want to embed or build yourself as well. So if you notice, there's this controls attribute here, and that is what displays this stuff that we talked about with the play button and all that. And so that controls attribute is what we're kind of tapping into and creating our own externally using some buttons and other things. So, so basically the goal here is to, with some code later on, we're going to hide the controls attribute here so that it doesn't show up, but then we're going to add our own below it so that these down here, like the play, stop, mute, all that, will control the video. All right, so I hope that makes sense. That's where we're going. Just wanted to make you aware of kind of what HTML videos are, and they're just very common, and they are native to the Divi video module. All right, back to our styling. So the basic setup, I want a dark background. I'm going to go to my settings, going to shrink this up. This is way too big. Okay. Bring it to the right. And let's add a background, just for now, just add like a dark background or something. Give it a little bit of opacity. And let's add an image. Oh, wait. Let's do a gradient. Sorry. Let's do a dark gradient. You can't even see my full settings here. So I'm going to do black, and then I'm going to do kind of like a black with an opacity turned down a little bit. Something like that. And then I want to make sure and place the gradient above my background image, and I'm going to put a background image in there. This will serve as my background for my section and video. It's going to be dark background, so I'm going to add some lighter. I like dark backgrounds for videos anyway because it makes the video pop more, kind of like you're at the theater. Just my personal opinion. Okay, let's go ahead and add our first row. So this is going to be the video row. I'm going to call it the video row because it's going to contain our video. And before we add our video module, I'm going to update the settings for my row. And I want to give it a size of 100%. Okay. Or a width, sorry, of 100%. And I'm going to set the max width to none. And that's because I want room for my video to expand when I click that large view button, like that. I want to make sure I have room for that video element to expand. That's why I'm not giving it a max width there for my row. And then for the padding, just going to take out the default padding on the bottom. Oops, just on the bottom there. Leave more room for my controls. And I'm going to save that out. Let's go ahead and add our video module. So all right, it's going to come with our custom YouTube video there. I'm just going to delete that one. And we're going to add our first MP4 file. It's important to have both, remember, for best. Wow, that's big. Okay, we're going to shrink it up in a little bit. All right, so we got our first MP4 file, and we're going to add a WebM version of that same video. If you are new to this and don't know, maybe you have an MP4 and don't know how to convert it to a WebM file, I use Handbrake to do that pretty easily. And there's some other free version or tools out there to convert it. So once I have my two files in there, that is basically all I need. Because right now, if I would inspect it on the back end, it would look, something like this with my MP4, my WebM video in place. All right. I'm going to jump over to the design tab, and for my sizing, I'm going to give it a max width of 1080 pixels. Shrinks up the video a little. Make it centered. And let's add my CSS ID. I'm going to be adding a lot of CSS IDs because we need to control them with code later on. So my first one is called Divi Video Container. So although this is the, this is the video module, it's essentially a wrapper around the actual video element code. So we're going to just call this our Divi Video Container. That's our CSS ID. ID, not class. So once that's done, I'm going to save that out. And our next step is to create our progress bar. We are going to use some just custom HTML. I think it's the easiest way to do that. So I'm going to add a code module. So a new one column row. Inside that row, I'm going to add a code module. In that code module, I'm going to paste in some HTML. Now this is using the progress bar or progress element. And let me open it up just a little bit so you can see it. And so that is what we're pasting in. And this basically, displays the, a progress element, which then controls, or we're going to use to, to display the progress bar for our video once it's, or during its playback time. And so you can see I've set the value to 0 and a min to 0, and that's important for the code later on. But that's basically it. So once that's pasted in there, that's all we need. And I forgot to style my row. We'll do that later. and I'm going to save it out. You can actually see the progress bar there a little bit, but it doesn't have the functionality we need quite yet. I'm going to go back into my row settings, but before I do that, let me open up my layers view, because I can already tell I'm having a hard time clicking on stuff, especially when you add stuff with the code module. It kind of shrinks it up, makes it harder to click on some. So it's helpful to open up my layers view to locate the stuff I want. So I'm going to grab that row settings, and I just want to take out that padding because it's kind of that progress bar is a bit too far below. So I'm going to update that padding. So I'm going to do 10 pixels. That's better. And I don't need any padding below it. So top padding 10 pixels, bottom 0. Save it out. All right, so that takes care of our progress bar elements. Now we're going to start creating our video control buttons. So to do that, we're going to add another row. So new row, right underneath that progress bar row, we are going to add a 1 column row. And before we start adding those buttons, I'm going to go back into my row settings. And I want to update the design tab because I want to go to the sizing. I want to make sure that the gutter width is set to 1. That way I don't have any extra margins between my modules that I'm going to be adding. Under spacing, I'm going to do 0 on the top and 0 on the bottom. So, I'm sorry, wrong. 10 pixels on the top, 20 on the bottom. All right. Save that out. Actually, there's a column in this row, so I'm going to open up the column settings for that row. And I'm going to add a really helpful snippet that's going to make all of our buttons align really nicely. And I use this a lot. It's a really helpful way to keep everything aligned vertically and horizontally without having to think about it. So it's using display flex, this combination here. So display flex, align item center, justify content center, flex wrap. And so that's going to make sure that every time I add a button, let me unzoom this. Trapped in zoom. Okay. So again, let's go back to that code because I didn't even save it. Okay. Wait, yes, I did. I'm in the row. Sorry. Column settings, custom CSS. All right. So once that's in there, every time I add a button, it's just kind of going to automatically align itself horizontally and center itself vertically within that column. So that's why I did that to the column. Let's go ahead and add our first button. But before I do that, I want to make sure and go over to see the chat here, make sure I'm not missing everything or anything or everything. Graviella, hello. Welcome. Matt, turns out, did find a blog article about how to add a live stream video to your Divi site. So good. Thanks. Glad it was helpful. That blog, we really work hard to make that our blog a really rich and free resource for everyone. So when in doubt, search that blog and our documentation first before you go to Google and search everywhere else. At least that's what I would do. Okay, awesome. We are ready to continue. All right, so we're building some custom HTML controls for our video. And we made our progress bar in this row right here. And now we made a new row for our buttons, our control buttons that we're going to be adding. So let's do that. I'm going to add a new module, which is going to be a button module. And so there it is. Wait, I added it in the wrong spot. See, over here in my layers view, my button is in my progress bar. I need to bring that down to this one. All right, so I want my button to be in that new row that I added. Okay, so I knew something was wrong because it wasn't centered. So as you can see, I added the button. It's automatically centered and it's automatically vertically centered, even though you can't tell. And I'm going to style that button a little bit. First off, this is going to be my play button. So I'm just going to add the text play pause because it will play and pause on top, toggle the play pause functionality later on. For my design options, let's go to our button options. Yes, I want to use custom styles for button. And I want to set my button text size on desktop to be 18 pixels. And on tablet, I'm going to shrink it up to 14 pixels. And let's make that text color white. And go back to my desktop view. All right. Let's see, button background. Let's go ahead and use the white background, but I'm gonna give it a really low opacity. Something like that. All right. Okay, somewhat transparent. And for my I do want to just take, I'm going to set my border width to 0. I don't need it. Okay, there's my button looking pretty good. I don't like how it has the icon, so I'm going to take that out. Show button icon, no. Of course you could, if you want, add a little play icon next to it, but wouldn't work in this case because we're using it for play and pause. And let's update the margins for this button. So I'm going to spacing, and because I'm using flex to kind of align all these buttons horizontally, I need some space. So I'm going to do 10 pixels on the top. That's because when they start to stack on one another on mobile, I have a little bit of space there. Thinking ahead is always good. 10 pixels on the left and right for my margin for my button. And the very important, let's go to the advanced tab and add our CSS ID that will target our Divi or our play pause button. So I'm going to call it Divi play pause. For my CSS ID, make sure that is named correctly. Yes, okay. And that's it. Save it out. Let's create another one. And we can speed up the process by duplicating the button. You'll see that it'll automatically align itself to the right nicely. And we can jump in and edit that duplicate. This time it's going to be stop for my button text. And I want to update my CSS ID to Divi stop. All right, easy enough. Save it out. Let's continue this process. Duplicate it. Duplicate our stop button and open up the settings of our duplicate. Change the button text. We're going to make a mute button. So add that button text mute. And then we're going to add a custom CSS ID called Divi Mute. Save it out. All right, I'm gonna duplicate my button again. This time we're gonna do the volume button. This one's gonna be a little bit different because I do want to add a button icon. So I'm gonna call it vol for short. And let's go ahead and update the settings a bit. I'm gonna go to my button styles here. And I do want to see the icon. So I'm going to click show button icon. And I want to use this up. Wait, is this up or down? Which one am I making? The up one, yes. So up first. Okay, so the up arrow, this will be the volume up button. So I want to add that button icon. And I don't want to only show it on hover, so I'm going to click that. Now we can see it, but the alignment's off. I need it, and it does that weird thing when you hover over it. So I do want to update the padding a bit, or the spacing. Oh, wait, before I do that, let's give it a color. Let's just do blue. Wait, that's for my button text, sorry. I want to update my button icon color, just the icon. Let's make that. It's also the border. I'll get it right. All the way down here. Where is it? There it is. Button icon color. There it is. Blue. And let's go back and change my button icon or button text color to white. All right. Now, sorry about that. Now we can go back to our spacing and adjust it a bit. So I want the left to be 0.5 ems, so 0.5 em. And on the right, I want, what do I want? 1.5. All right, so 1.5 em. So that gives me this, sorry, can't type. Oh, I keep doing 3. Sorry. All right, there we go. All right, so that sizes my button or creates the padding I want to make it look the way I want. That's nice. Okay. Advanced tab. Let's add a unique ID called Divi vol inc for volume increase. So I could have used vol up, but I didn't. So save that out. And for the volume down button, let's go ahead and duplicate this one. Now all we have to do is change that icon and our CSS ID. So let's do that. Go to my button settings, scroll down, change the icon to down, the down arrow, and go to my advanced tab, change my ID to Divi -vol decreased, so DEC, VOL DEC. All right, save it out. And we need one more button for our large view, so I don't want to duplicate this customized. I just want the standard one, so I'm going to duplicate my mute button. And over in my layers view, I'm going to drag that duplicate button all the way down underneath my volume buttons. So now it sits over to the right, which is what I want. Okay, so I'm going to open that up, change my button text to large view. And I'm going to update my CSS ID to Divi large view. All right. So you can see essentially what I've done is designed a bunch of buttons, but the most important thing is that I've added a custom CSS ID to each of those, which we'll target later on using some jQuery. All right. Hope I haven't lost you. Hi, Karam. Welcome. Y'all are pretty quiet here in the chat. So either y'all are so engaged in learning so much that you want me to keep going, or you are watching, Hulu or Netflix or something. Okay, but I'm going to keep going. The next step is, what is my next step? Oh yeah, the code. So we've got all our elements in place. Now all we need to do is add the code, the functionality. So this can be done by adding a code module. So I already have a code module that I'm using in my in this row to add my progress element there, progress bar, HTML. I'm just going to add the code there, right underneath, to keep both my two code modules in the same spot. So right under my previous code module, I'm going to add another one. Might be a good idea to label it, like CSS/JavaScript or something like that. Because we're going to be adding some CSS and JavaScript in this code module. So make this fairly large so you can see. First thing I'm going to do is add some style tags. So that's important because I'm going to be pasting in some CSS code. There it is. There's my CSS code. And you can already tell that it did something. Get this out the way. You can see it. You see my progress bar now is spanning the full width of my container. That's what that CSS does here. That progress bar makes it full width. And it also is going to, this will get applied, this max width of 1400 pixels will get applied once we add our JavaScript, which will, toggle this CSS class, to the video container. So that's going to make it large. And this little snippet here is just to make all of the backgrounds of the button a slightly different color whenever they're active. So that's what that's doing. All right, there's my CSS. It's all really unneeded. Next is my jQuery I'm going to add. JavaScript/jQuery. So I'm going to wrap that in my script tags because I'm embedding it in HTML. And then this little snippet is a bit larger. So there we go. Don't get too overwhelmed at the code. I'll walk you through a little bit to help explain what's going on. So that's in place. I do want to go ahead and, if you don't care or about the code and just want everything to work, you can just paste it in there, click save, and you should be good. I'm just going to test it out on another page in the live version here and make sure everything's working. So yeah, I can play. That's working. Pause. Good. Stop. Should bring it back. Good. Mute. Looks like it's working. It's my volume buttons. And then the large view. So everything's working. Good. Of course, I've left the functionality of showing the default controls on hover. And the reason I did that, and you don't have to have that, but these controls that I've added are, somewhat limiting. It's just kind of an introduction on how to do this. So I didn't include everything. So, for example, if you wanted to do like full screen or something, that would only be available here. Because I didn't add a custom control for that. So if you wanted to take that out and hide it forever, you can. Also, you can always, I'll just show you in the code really what I did here. So maybe I can zoom in and walk you through some of this. All right, can I zoom in? Is it letting me? There we go. Okay. All right, so this first little snippet of jQuery, this stuff here, this is just, pointing some variables to our Divi elements. So all of our Divi buttons, you can see, recognize all those custom classes. I'm sorry, wrong. IDs, sorry. These CSS IDs that we made for all of our buttons, you can see those. And basically what we've done is just assign a variable to each one of those so we can use them later on in our code. There's two unique ones here. And that is this one, as you can see, is the actual video element. It targets the actual video element on the DOM, so to speak. So it's different than if you're familiar with jQuery or JavaScript, this is the equivalent of get element by ID or get a query selector or something like that, because I want the actual HTML element, not the jQuery object. So that's important element that we're going to be used. In short, if that's confusing, this thing here basically targets, where's my example? This right here, this video element code. All right. Now, another one is the progress element. That was the one we added in that code box, which is HTML. So with that's the actual, another one that targets the actual element. All right, so those two are important, and you can notice that it has that little extra bracket there to target the actual element itself. Okay. After that, the next step is to basically hide the controls. So the controls are set to false. That hides the controls initially. So there you go. The next step is we are going to, so you're going to see, like, whenever the, here's my Divi video, so whenever that video is loaded, and we're using, this is a event here called loaded metadata. So once that Divi video is loaded, I'm going to set that progress bar or give that progress bar an attribute called max and make it equal to the video element duration. Now, that is basically what this is doing is create or changing, because in the next one, using this time update event, these are two things that you use to kind of update the video while once it's loaded and while it's playing. So what I'm doing is, with this code, is basically updating the width of that progress bar according to the, by calculating the max duration of the video and the current time of the video. So it's just a smart way of doing that. So once the video loads, the metadata on the progress element, we set a max attribute. Okay, good. And then we update the progress bar's value and width to indicate the current playback position. Very fancy way of saying, if that's confusing to you. That is what gets the functionality of when we play and pause. You see that blue bar going across? That's what gets that functionality. It knows to end or to reach a width of 100% once the video stops, and so on. It's just calculating that along the way. All right. This next part is just kind of a fallback that does the same thing for mobile, just in case that what we did previously didn't happen yet. Continuing on, this should be more, or I guess easier to understand. And these are our buttons. So when we click our play pause button, so on click, we're basically going to either play or pause it depending on its state. You know, basic toggle functionality for the play pause. We're using this paused and ended event or method, forget what you call it. Although, yeah, these are the events that are, you know, standard for, you know, customizing video, HTML video. So if the video element is paused or the video element has ended, then we're going to play it with this play function. And else, if not, we're just going to pause it. All right, so that's our toggle functionality. Next is the stop button. So when we click the stop button, we're going to, guess what? Pause the video. But not only that, we're going to set the current time to 0, which brings it all the way back to the start. And we're also going to do the same for the progress element, bring that bar all the way back to the start. That's what that does. When we click the mute button, all right, we are going to, basically what this does is we're going to set that muted, what's it called? Muted event to false, basically. So we're going to, that's another way of saying we're going to inverse the muted, and we're just going to make it muted. That's the technical way of saying it. All right. And then we're going to add a toggle class that gets you the functionality of this, you know, to show when it's active, it's kind of lighter. That way, oh, it's muted, I can unclick it. That's what that class does. All right. So this next snippet of code is how we control the volume. So when we click the increase volume button, this alter volume is function, basically, is going to pass this variable plus sign. So that just basically says, hey, I want it to increase. And for this one, I want it to decrease. And then that gets passed along in this function here, and make sure that it does that. And it's going to, you know, if it has the plus sign, if that button, if my Vault Inc. button there has a plus sign, it's going to, you know, increase in small increments, you know, all the way up to, you know, it gets to full volume or whatever. And the same thing for the one that has the minus sign assigned to it, it's going to decrease. So that's what's going on there. And then lastly, we have our large view button that when we click it, it adds that, or toggles that, wait, that's not right. Yeah. So it toggles the class to make sure the button's active, which changes makes it lighter. Makes the button lighter. But it also toggles a class that gets added to the container that expands it. And that's directly related to this here, which makes the max width 1400, which expands it a bit. So all that to say, last little snippet, this is the one that basically shows the controls on hover. So if you don't want to show it on hover, you can take out that code. Also, if you don't want to hide it initially, you can take out this code, and it won't show. It will keep the elements visible. That way, you can always have that functionality in addition to the custom buttons that you have. So maybe that's something you want. Maybe you just want a big play button, but you want everything else to stay the same. Well, you can do that. So hopefully that wasn't way too confusing. Yeah. So any questions about that? If not, I'm going to wrap things up because we are getting close to the end. We're actually at the end. But final look, here it is. Pause and play functionality on that button. The stop button, of course, we can go back and, style. I think in my tutorial on the blog there, I, made this stop button have red text or something for a better UI or user experience. The mute button toggles the volume. I'm sorry, yeah, on and off. And then the volume up and volume down increments the volume up and down, and then the large view. So those are my controls, and then of course the progress bar here. Check out the blog again for more information. I think I've included some links to kind of the sites where I kind of use to kind of build this out to get a better understanding of how the HTML5 video element works and how to use it in Divi. So, all right. Hello, Gustavo. Okay. All right, well, that's all I got for you this week. Our live stream has come to an end, sadly, but please be sure to subscribe to our blog newsletter, our YouTube channel, and like us on Facebook. Give us a thumbs up if you like the video. Also, don't forget to click to get those notifications, just in case you want to get notified every single time we have something new for you guys. I hope you enjoyed the live stream. We'll be back here next Tuesday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. With another Divi use case live stream. Until then, we look forward to seeing you in our next video.